1. The daily routines and practices of Humanistic Buddhism. Even the Buddha, an awakened sage, could not forego the basic necessities of life such as food, clothing, housing and mobility. Within the 5 vehicles, both human and heavenly beings depend on this worldly needs, while the Sravakas bear otherworldly minds. Bodhisattvas of the Mahayana path integrate the spirits of human and heavenly beings, Sravakas, as well as Pratyeka Buddhas. Harmonized as one, this is the body-mind of the Bodhisattva path, thus Humanistic Buddhism. The development of Buddhism in China is elaborated below based on the premise of food, clothing, housing and transportation as the basics for life. 1. Food. As the saying states, food comes before everything. Eating is integral to living. The vast influence of Buddhism can be seen in the culture of Chinese food. Its eastward diffusion brought with it a majority of the fruits and vegetables eaten daily today. Some varieties include barley, buckwheat, kidney bean, pea, eggplant, cantaloupe, grape, watermelon, pomegranate, tomato, cucumber, walnut, carrot, spinach, and jackfruit. All are main ingredients of customary Chinese cuisine. Imagine how inconvenient life would be for Chinese without these produce. Aside from vegetables, eating congee for breakfast is also a result of Buddhist influence. According to the Buddha Sutras, eating congee aids digestion, satiates hunger, and prolongs life. For this reason, congee has become a routine element of breakfast. To celebrate Buddha's Day, every the 8th of December of the lunar calendar, Buddhist temples would cook laba congee and distribute it gratuitously. To date, the Laba festival has become one of the most notable festivals in Chinese culture. Each year, Fogangshan temples worldwide dispense over 1 million bowls of laba congee. The Chinese tea culture descends from traditional Buddhist monastery traditions. Tea was served in the reception halls of monasteries to welcome guests, while monastic assemblies for tea were called open tea session. Particularly, tea was used to clear a weary and tired mind caused by long periods of sitting meditation. Subsequently, it is now a customary drink among meditation practitioners. Moreover, the drinking of tea, as a ritual duty, is contained in the daily practices of Chan monasteries. From Chan Gonggen such as Zhaozu tea, the tremendous contributions of Chan practitioners to Chinese culture, through tea ceremonies, can be seen. Today, many worldly renowned teas share a connection with Buddhist monastics. Examples include Balua Kunti from Dongting in Jiangsu, Big Red Robe from Huai in Fujian, Longjing tea from Hanzhou Yuquan Temple, and Pu'er tea from Xishangbana. All were cultivated in monasteries. Without Pu'er tea, the main Tibetan diet of beef and lamb would have been difficult to digest. Most tea plantations meeting the demands of tea drinkers in China are found near renowned Buddhist mountains and rivers. As a result, Chan and tea became one, and part of Chinese culture. Master Jianzhen from the Tang dynasty, known as the father of Japanese tea, brought tea to Japan. Later, Japanese monk Miao Nisai, studying in China, introduced Japan to the tea ceremony. Buddhist monastics have exerted tremendous influence on the propagation of both Chinese and tea culture. Other than the above, one of Buddhism's greatest contributions is the promotion of vegetarianism. In the Buddha's time, the Sangha community catered to the local customs when begging for alms. As convenience for the people offering whatever they had, coupled with their practice of impartiality, monastics did not differentiate between meat and vegetables. However, after Buddhism spread to China, alms begging was deemed an unsuitable practice due to the local customs, climate, and the environment. Moreover, As Chinese monastics settled in monasteries to propagate the Dharma, kitchen and storage facilities became available. In Chinese Buddhism, vegetarianism advocates the spirit of compassion strengthened by the Confucian influence. Having seen a life, how can one bear to see it die? Having heard its noise, how can one bear to eat its flesh? Vegetarianism thus became a daily custom in practicing Chinese Buddhism. The integration of Buddhist and Confucian culture encouraged vegetarianism as a way of life and established it as a core concept in Humanistic Buddhism. Although Buddhism is not against the consumption of meat, its advocacy of not killing demonstrates the equality, compassion, and oneness befitting all lives. This is in perfect accord with the modern ideals of environmental and animal protection. 2. Clothing. After the Wei, Jin Northern and Southern dynasties, Chinese clothing, due to the influence of Buddhism and Central Asian cultures, began to change markedly both in style and color. Considering the fashion of women's clothing in the Tang dynasty, the convergence of Buddhist and Chinese culture is exceedingly obvious. At that time, women were especially fond of the red skirts from the western regions. The women of the palace favored the Xianji hairstyle, evolved from Sakyamuni Buddha's Usnasa, and sported by celestial beings in Buddhist paintings. The festoon of jewels worn by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas also became chosen accessories of palace women and musicians. Moreover, the Indian honeysuckle, lotus, and 8 auspicious patterns all originated from Buddhist art. Today, the Chongshan and Haiqing robes worn by Chinese monastics, and those from India that bear the right shoulder, have all been recognized as the distinctive elements of Chinese robes. Contemporary Chinese monastics, through their clothing, preserve Chinese culture in their own fashion. 3. Housing. Buddhists advocate a life of simplicity and proximity to nature. In Buddha's time, the hot climate made it possible for his disciples to sleep beneath trees and subsist on a single meal per day. Some bhiksus were able to lead communal lives up in the mountains. However, in the cold climates of China, how can one live in the wilderness? For this reason, monasteries and temples were built. The first Buddhist temple in China was Honglu Temple, built during the Eastern Han Dynasty. Originally an imperial guest house, the arrival of 2 Indian monastics, Kasyapa and Dharmaratna, turned it into a temple and place of cultivation for Chinese monastics. Not only temples, other architectural names such as monastery, nunnery, and vihara were used as residences for Buddhist practitioners. Furthermore, the magnificence of Buddhist architecture became a feature of Chinese culture, with palaces exhibiting such styles in their construction. The collective layouts of farmhouses were also under the influence of monastic communities. Some time later, Chinese temples were founded under the procedures of Mazu's establishment of monastery and the standards of Baizhang's introduction of pure regulations. Rules and constitutions thus began as features of Chinese Buddhism. These influenced various emperors of different dynasties in refining the laws of their kingdoms. Some monasteries were built through the contributions of the common people. Others were erected by royal decree, such as Zhongshan Chan Monastery in Jinchen and Chixia Monastery in Nanjing. Both of these large and majestic complexes later became national temples. In the remote western and northern regions, temples were built in caves, serving as places of spiritual solace. They are also now considered treasures of Chinese culture. Historically, and unto today, the diversity of Buddhist architecture is the result of adapting to the requirements at the time. Each variance illustrates the historical development of Humanistic Buddhism. 4. Walking. Transportation is another valued component of Buddhist culture. In the time of the Buddha, when begging for alms, bhiksus maintained their demeanor by the following means: looking straight ahead, keeping their minds focused, as well as maintaining a firm and steady stride. In Chinese Buddhism, the 3,000 demeanors and 80,000 subtle actions denotes the daily practices of appropriate conduct whilst walking, standing, sitting, and reclining. Particularly, to walk like the wind, sit like a bell, stand like the pine, and recline like a bow demonstrates the proper demeanor of a spiritual practitioner. Particular focus is placed on one's demeanor when lining up. In addition to one's bearing when walking, the formation of the line is as important. This is true whether it be for morning and evening chanting, or entering and exiting a shrine. A sense of space and timing, an essential cultivation in Humanistic Buddhism, is nurtured through the practice of lining up. This custom of lining up should be re-established in society. Today, people shove each other, cut the line, and shout. They should follow the demeanors of Chinese Buddhists in speaking softly, walking and lining up properly, as well as heeding daily civilities. Coupled with the elegance and grace of the Chinese gentry, greater harmony and order will pervade society. Chinese Chan Buddhism split into 5 schools and the 7 sects. More schools mandated regulations. The bell and board signals, as well as the formalities of the drum and bell, varied according to each sect. The rituals of the 5 sessions of practice and 3 daily meals demonstrate Humanistic Buddhism's emphasis on life itself means spiritual cultivation. When monastics conduct themselves with demeanor, they gain the respect of devotees. As the saying states, "Let the voice of the Buddha flow gently like water. Chant sutras and progress along the way like orderly flying geese. Join palms at chest level as if carrying water. Stand tall and erect as if a bowl of oil is atop the head." Such elegant and upright practices have been inspired by the Buddha's personal conduct. When Neo-Confucian philosopher Cheng Yi, of the Song era witnessed Dinglan Temple monastics entering a hall with such elegance, he exclaimed, "The joy of 3 generations of rites are all displayed here." This proves the general esteem for Buddhist etiquette. The daily necessities of clothing, eating, living and walking have all been tremendously influenced by Buddhism. Chinese culture and Humanistic Buddhism existed alongside the Buddha. Modern-day monastics must recognize this to understand the fundamental daily practices of Buddhism. The meaning of Humanistic Buddhism is that which human beings need. In this case, the needs are clothing, eating, living, and walking. Likewise, it is essential that it cater to the needs of people when establishing formalities and regulations. Such influences are now inseparable from Chinese culture. Thus we Buddhists shall take on the duty of placing greater value on the development of Humanistic Buddhism within Chinese culture. Dedication of merits. May kindness, compassion, joy and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, pure land and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows.